Nice of you to join me again for another live stream. Really wanted to get this one done. I was going to try and do it last night, but I couldn't possibly do it. I was traveling and stuff, so couldn't quite fit it in last night. So I thought I'd do it tonight instead. So hopefully, always as ever, loads and loads to talk about with Newcastle United. No change there whatsoever. At the end of the day, we've got another loss. Another convincing loss to Chelsea to talk about. The managerial situation hasn't changed yet again. And it feels a bit like Groundhog Day right now at Newcastle. And yet, I don't know, like I get a sense in the fan base that there's a bit of a split coming in terms of people who are sort of more chilled out about it and people who are getting really panicky and worried. And I totally get both sides of that. Like whichever side of the fence you sit on personally, I totally understand, because I can understand why people are getting nervous and edgy and kind of worried about the managerial situation not changing. So let's address the whole situation with the Chelsea game first. My thoughts on it in particular. So Twitter in particular was an interesting place to be after the match, because I it was always going to happen when you had another defeat. But this is my point. I think, look, we all expected us to lose against Chelsea. Every single person, I think, would, if they're honest with themselves, thought, yeah, that's a game we're not going to win. And we'll talk about Chelsea in a little bit in a minute. But what I think most people couldn't accept was the sort of way we set up and the way we approached the game. And it's not that we thought we should go out all guns blazing against Chelsea, because that's suicidal. If you do that, we could have lost 7-0 like Norwich did the week before. But what was frustrating was, even though this is my opinion, I think we looked, for 45 minutes at least, we looked very, very good, maybe generous, but we looked more organised defensively. We looked like they'd been drilled into being a bit more defensive and kind of all that kind of stuff being better. However, we didn't lay a glove on Chelsea at all in the whole match, pretty much. I think it took until like the 80th minute to get a shot on target. And yes, Chelsea are an exceptional team. For me, they are the most talented team in the league. They're the ones to beat, in my opinion. They are frighteningly good, frighteningly organised. And I was sort of saying this to my dad after the match, like, if you look at Chelsea's team, Tuchel doesn't play the same team 2 games in a row, and yet all the players who come in are equally as good as the ones who go out. There's just so much. So when they were saying, there's like 4 or 5 regulars out, it sort of is a bit misleading that with Chelsea, in my opinion, because, yeah, they didn't have Lukaku and they didn't have all the other players, I can't remember the names now, who weren't playing. But the fact of the matter is, and I said this before the match, my worry was Reece James and Chilwell. And to be fair, Chilwell had quite a quiet game, but obviously Reece James didn't. He was absolutely outstanding. And we couldn't deal with the pressure that Chelsea constantly put us under. So I was disappointed in terms of the way we approached the match. But like I said, not because I think we should have gone out at them trying to outscore them, because that would have been suicidal. But we're just showing absolutely nothing going forward right now, and that's got to change. So let's see who's here. So good evening to Patrick. We'll come back to some of these comments in a minute. Peter as well. Good evening. Good evening, Liam, Mark. I can see you there, Marty, Ryan, Jan, Trev. Evening, all of you, and anyone else that I've not mentioned yet. So let's just go to the first comment, because it's worth sort of talking about. Hopefully, Dubravka back for Brighton and Burnley. Burnley are away to Chelsea. Let's hope hopefully Dubravka back for Brighton and Burnley are away to Chelsea. Let's hope we can get a new manager this week. Let's talk about Darlow. I was disappointed with Darlow's performance, not because I don't think there was much fault in terms of the goals with Darlow, but whether this was a tactic that he was told to sort of deploy, I don't know. But for me, I was getting annoyed with him taking so long kicking the ball. He was clearly stalling for time, and I didn't like that. I don't like to see our players do that. So, I think and his kicking wasn't great either. Like the first 2 kicks of the game that he had were just like all over the place. I think, in fact, one of them just went straight into touch. So I was disappointed. Dubravka, for me, is the number 1 keeper. If he's fit, you play him. Darlow's done an all right job for us, but I just think you move on and you play your better player. Peter's nervous about the managerial delay and a bit worried. Now, I've been obviously very much on the side of, look, these new owners know what they're doing. They're being very thorough. However, after the Chelsea performance, not the result was the result, but the performance in terms of, like many people have said, it was Bruce Ball without Steve Bruce there. And to be fair, it was a bit like that, wasn't it? We were a bit more organised at the back, but at the end of the day, there was nothing going forward. And until we can link up the play between defence and attack and have players who are comfortable in possession, this is what we're going to get. And it has to change. Like we have to. So I'm sort of with you, Peter. I'm thinking we need a new manager, and I'm hearing reports are that it's going to be after the Brighton game, and that Jones is going to get the Brighton game now. For me, that is disappointing, and I think that I just want the new guy to come in, new ideas. We need to change formation. We need to give all the players a new chance. We need to get the likes of Fernandes and Shah, and we need to get people playing in the right position, Almiron in the right position, Willock in the right position. All these things that are just not happening right now. We need to get that happening. So, yeah, I am getting a little bit nervous. I think there will be an announcement this week. I'm still sure of that. But it looks to me like even if the new manager's announced before we play Brighton, they're not actually going to be taking the team. And I sort of think we're pushing it a bit, really. But, we'll see. Liam says, I've seen people say they wouldn't take Emery. Thoughts? Yeah, I'd 100% take him, absolutely. His record's brilliant. His stint at Arsenal's maybe slightly misleading, I think. I think he inherited a bad situation in terms of what Arsenal were trying to achieve. And let's be honest, it's taken Arteta quite a bit of time to get them going as well. So, Emery's record speaks for itself. When you look at it, he's a fantastic manager. So, so Peter agrees, take him in a heartbeat. Evening, Mark. Evening, Marty. Liam, I saw that you were at the match. I think you were sat fairly close to me, actually, judging by the picture I saw that you took in the sort of centre of the Gallagher. I was just to the side of that. So maybe next time you're up, we could meet. Took you 4 hours on the train. That is a heck of a journey. Like, fair play to you for coming up. Was that your first game, Liam, since Ashley's gone, or is that your first game? How long was that since? I seem to think that you haven't been that often under the Ashley era. Jan, sit back and wait for the top man. All we can do. So, we just have to wait. We have to be patient. We do have to be patient still. I do think that the new owners are going to get it right. I'm not worried about that in a sense. I think that they are. I think they have got their head screwed on. I think that they will be talking to lots of people in football who they can contact and getting advice. And then I'm sure they're being very thorough with the organisation. And like I say, I think we have to remember that after 14 years of Ashley, this 3 or 4 weeks has felt very, very long in terms of waiting for a manager to come in. But ultimately, it's in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to be that long. But it feels like it is just because games are passing us by. But really, there's the Palace game where we got a point. The Chelsea game, I don't think we would have beaten Chelsea regardless of who was there. So in my sense, that was like a free hit, and I don't think we're any worse off for that match. But then the Brighton game is going to be a hard game, and I'd like to think that with a new approach, we might get something out of the game. But I do worry that if Jones is in charge for that match, it's going to be another situation where we're just playing defensively and Brighton are allowed to just walk all over us. Because let's be honest, Brighton this season have looked very, very strong and very organised and very well drilled. Their performance against Liverpool, they were, even though they went 2-0 down, they were the side who were kind of, sort of in control, if you like, in terms of like possession and stuff from what I've read and what I've heard and from reports and what have you. So they were unlucky in a sense that they didn't win at Anfield. Liam got the score spot on against Chelsea. I predicted 3-1 to Chelsea. So obviously we didn't score, and that was the disappointing thing. We didn't even look like scoring at any point, did we? Apart from maybe actually the first 3 minutes when Fraser went through and he sort of had a shot which he should have done better with. Let's be honest, he should have done better. But apart from that, and then we had a shot on target late on, and that was it. It was very, very, very. It was very poor, and these are the comments that you're all saying as well. Whole game was very frustrating. Yeah, and like I say, it got. I mean, for me, first half job done, 0-0. You come out in the second half. This is the classic sort of tactic, isn't it? That a lot of managers employ. You keep it tight, and then for the last 20 minutes, 25 minutes, you then have a go at the other team and you try and nick the win. The problem was when Jones tried to do that, we conceded, and then it was game over. We just capitulated. We fell apart like a house of cards. It was bad. When it went wrong, it did go badly wrong. So it was very frustrating. And ultimately, I think 45 minutes we did all right. But as soon as the second half kicked off, Chelsea had upped their level. They'd upped their game. And I mean, in the first 5 minutes of the second half, they'd hit the post and had 2 shots on target. Fair enough, they were from outside of the box, but that was the sign was there. You know, they were coming to win that game in the second half. And eventually, you know, I mean, fair play to Reece James. That first goal was excellent, and he had an amazing game. He was he's such a good player. You've kind of just got to admire Chelsea. Actually, I came away just thinking you've got to just admire how good that team are, because I don't think if they carry on playing like they are playing, I don't think anyone's catching them. I don't think Man City are catching them, and I don't think Liverpool are going to catch them. And they could potentially run away with it because Man City drop points again this weekend, and Liverpool, of course. So, you know, we'll see. Yeah, Trev, the Fernandes situation is just mental. He's definitely our best centre half, and it kind of comes back to the whole Steve Bruce thing, having favourites and sticking with them, regardless of, you know, he's playing people out of position. How on earth? The only thing I can think of with Kraft is that he's a right-sided player, so Jones is playing him on the right side of the back three. But I'm sorry, but you know, he should not be in that team ahead of Cher or Fernandes. It just seems crazy. I just can't believe it. And Peter, yeah, losing one thing, but it was Menvy, but it really was. But I think we do also have to remember that Chelsea are on another level to pretty much every single team in that league, including Man City and Liverpool right now. From what I've seen, they were just amazingly good. I mean, they did not give us an inch when they were pressing us for 90 minutes. They never let up. And you know, better teams than us are going to lose to Chelsea this season, and already have done, obviously. But I think that was it. They just look incredibly organised. If he's judged at a poor Arsenal team, how will he do at a worse Newcastle? I don't quite understand what you mean there, Mark, if I'm honest. Are you saying like it's kind of Newcastle are worse, so how could he do better with us? Is that what you're saying, or are you saying the opposite? I can't quite tell from your comments, sorry. Let's have a little look then. So Andy, evening Andy, nice that you're here. Goalfest would not have happened if Jones didn't hesitate putting subs on. Yeah, that was very, very strange, wasn't it? Has anyone ever seen that before, where a substitution's been called and then the subs haven't gone on? And I think it was because Chelsea were making subs at the same time. But why did we not make our subs at that point? Why did they say, oh, Chelsea... The only thing I could think of was that Jones was going to wait and see what Chelsea did. But to be honest, I would have just made the changes. Because then, of course, he didn't make the changes and we conceded. And then he made the changes. So it was very... I don't know. It was very, very weird. Evening, Scott. Nice to have you with us. And Ryan, one thing I hate is that Darla doesn't get the game time he deserves. Well, he has this season. And I think that for me, he's the number 2 goalkeeper. He's not a bad keeper. He's done a good job. But if Dubravka's fit, you play Dubravka, in my opinion. That's what you do. You play your best players, and that includes the goalkeeper. And Dubravka is better than Darla. The longer this goes on, does it make an incoming manager feel like maybe their 4th or 5th choice, which is not a good start? Well, we've just seen with Tottenham, haven't we, that Nunes has just been sacked, and Nuno, has been sacked at Spurs, and he was clearly not their first choice, and that went back. That's gone wrong for him very quickly. But I think that's because of Levy and the situation, maybe with Conte becoming available, that's kind of forced their hand. I don't think so, though, Matt, because I think that everyone involved in the interview process, and I've got nothing to base this on other than reports that I've read. It feels to me like they're just conducting a very thorough interview process, and actually, I don't think they have. And I don't think they probably do have preferences, but I think they're being genuinely open as to who could be the one who comes in and is the one. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think they've got a saying, "Oh, this is our man," and if we don't get him, we'll have him, and then third and fourth and fifth. I think it's a case of let's just see who's out there, and we'll make a decision based on how they perform in an interview. That's what I think is going on. So hopefully they won't feel like that, and the person who does get the job will feel like they've really earned it because the consortium want them to be the manager. So, Scott, you're saying Favre would be the standout for you. I think that's a very popular choice by a lot of people. I think the more I've sort of read about him over the last few weeks, it seems like he would absolutely be the kind of thing we're after. The only question mark is Premier League experience, but I think that's overblown. I think if you're a good manager, you're a good manager. It's like when they said, "Oh, Benitez has never managed in the Championship." Well, if you're a good manager, you can manage at any club, can't you, really? So we'll see. Thomas, evening. The backbone has gone at Newcastle. No punch, no direction. Need 5 new players in January. I think this is a really interesting point, and I think that for me, I'm slightly concerned that there hasn't been a bigger reaction from the players, but I also think that you've got to have the context of where they are. And I think the context is they've been under Bruce for 2 years. They are not confident. They've lost their confidence. They've lost their ability to express themselves and be free and have, freedom to create and freedom to express themselves, like I said. And so I think that's part of the reason. I think part of it is just them sort of being not confident and beaten down, if you like, by a system that's been, really ingrained in them for now 2.5 years almost. But I do also think, and this is more concerning, I do think that there are some players in that squad who know that they're not going to be there, who know that they, in all likelihood, shouldn't have been there for a couple of years at least, but have managed to cling on. And are their hearts really in it? Are they invested in keeping Newcastle United safe as much as they should be? I'm not saying that they wouldn't want to go out and win football matches because they're professional footballers, and I always think that professional footballers will want to win a match. But are they prepared to go the extra mile? Are they prepared to, really put their body on the line, every last ounce of effort into getting results for Newcastle United? I'm not sure that every single player in that squad has that attitude, and that's what concerns me. And in terms of January, I think absolutely. I asked the question on Twitter the other week. Do people think we're going to bring in, 4 players or less, or more than 4 players? And most people were saying over, and I was thinking, well, 4 is probably going to be enough. Maybe 5. I can see that being like a realistic amount. But actually, I could actually see it being 6 or 7 because of the situation we now find ourselves in. And there's a lot of dead wood that could be shipped out in January if they're replaced by better players. And I really do think that this is a massively deep-rooted issue we've got in our squad. And it does concern me, I must admit. That said, I do believe that there is enough in this squad to survive still. I really do believe that as well. But it will require someone to come in really soon and do the right thing almost instantly. Like, they need to hit the ground running. They can't afford, especially with the fixtures we've got, they can't afford not to hit the ground running in those initial fixtures that they're going to get. because let me just show you if I can get the next 5 matches up. So let's say Jones has got the Brighton match. Fair enough. Okay, but then the new manager is going to have Brentford, Arsenal, Norwich, and Burnley, and 3 of those are at home. They have to hit the ground running there, because if they don't, then you're into December, and then you're into Leicester away, Liverpool away, Man City at home, Man United at home, and Everton away. And you're talking about 10 games there, aren't you? It's 10 matches there. And if you don't hit the ground running in the first 4, sorry, if you exclude Brighton, then you are really, really in trouble. So it's such a I don't know, it's such a delicate situation, and we are obviously adrift at the bottom now. Scott's saying we need to win at least 3 before Christmas, then have a run after Christmas. Now, again, Scott, the fixture list after that run in December is kinder to us. So we need to get, I agree, we need to get, you look at the Norwich game, you look at the Burnley game at home, you look at the Brentford game at home, you need to be winning at least 2 of them and then trying to nick a win in December at least. I agree with that. I think we need 10 points there by the end of the year just to stay in touch with the relegation battle. And if we don't do that, we are gonna be in big bother, because if we get to January and we're 6, 7, 8, 9 points adrift, then that's such a big thing to turn around. It's almost impossible at that point. Yeah, and Davey, I think this is a really good point as well. And I think, I assume you're talking about Graham Jones as well there. But I think the only reason that all the coaching staff haven't gone is because Newcastle United was ran on such a threadbare staffing. Like, Ashley literally had us down to the bare bones. That if they got rid of all Bruce's coaches, there'd literally be no one to take training sessions. And I do think there's big changes coming. And I think that they're not just interviewing for a manager. I think they're interviewing for a director of football. I think they'll be interviewing for coaches, and all that other kind of stuff that involve physios and just a proper support staff for the squad. I think all that will come very, very soon. And I think that, I don't know if Jones will leave, because I've got a feeling that they might kind of keep him about. But I think all the other Steves will go. They're not going to be wanted. And I just think it's like you say, we need a complete break though from Mike Ashley stuff. We need it from, in terms of the Sports Direct signage, all the coaches, all the backroom staff that were linked to his regime, all needs to go. I do agree with that. And this is it. This is like, one day we could be playing the kind of football like Chelsea, Man City. I mean, imagine going to St. James's Park and watching that kind of football, that kind of level. It would be absolutely amazing. And I've heard a few people sort of question, would it be better just to get relegated and rebuild from there? And I think absolutely not, because for one very simple reason. This consortium, who own us now, if we survive, they're going to rebuild. So getting relegated and rebuilding, they'll have to do that. But if we survive, they're going to rebuild anyway. So why would we want to waste at least a season in the Championship when we could just survive, even if it's by the skin of our teeth, and then just rebuild over the summer? Because I think, these Saudi owners are not here to mess about. They want to turn Newcastle into an amazing team, an amazing club, and ultimately they want to make money from us. We've got to accept that. We've got to understand that that's what they're in it for. It's about raising the value of Newcastle United and then turning profits. And that's what they want to do. It's an investment for them. But I think saying, would it be better if we get relegated? I just think absolutely not. We do not want to be in a situation where we get relegated, because then you're setting the whole project back 2 years, really, because you've lost this year and probably next year as well. And then you've got to come back up, and then you've got to start again in the Premier League. So relegation would be a bit of a disaster, to be perfectly honest with you. And it's not something I want to go through again. I've lost a lot of comments here. Sorry. Evening, Paul. Evening, Gordon, my dad. Yeah, Nuno was like 8th choice, wasn't he? Marty, you're on about Jones trying to work out the new formation when the substitutions came. That's what I thought at the time too, and I think you're right. I think he was Chelsea made their subs, and then he decided to hurl back for a minute. But I think he should have just he should have just gone for it. Really, he should have just put hours on because it wouldn't have gone on. Evening, Stu. Jones out. Laughing face. Did anyone else find his post-match comments bizarre? Maybe he's also been Bruce. Didn't agree with the team selection. Yeah, so I've already mentioned, Steve, that I think the team selection was disappointing. I think his game plan was understandable considering the opponents we were playing in terms of like keeping it tight for 45 minutes. What was disappointing for me, though, was we never tried to attack Chelsea at any point. And you can't do games like that. And I think to be fair to Jones, he did sort of allude to that in his post-match conference, in his post-match interviews. He was saying, look, this isn't how I want to play, but this is how we have to play right now. Whether you agree with that or not, and I personally think you don't necessarily need to agree with that, because I think my argument is let's get a new manager in who has new ideas, plays a new formation, makes the players have the ball a bit more. But at the end of the day, it was Chelsea. We've got to remember we were going to lose that game anyway. It was just the manner in which we played that was disappointing. But ultimately, we're no worse off than we thought we would be after losing to Chelsea. And it was always likely that would be a drift at the end of the weekend, with Leeds obviously beating Norwich, which I don't know what would have been the better result there if it was like a draw or even Norwich winning. I don't know. Evening, Rainy. Nice that you're here. Thanks for joining us. And Paul as well. And anyone else who's joined in the last few minutes, thank you for joining me. And yeah, I mean, yes, and this is the thing. Like when the team selection came through, I was obviously with you, and yeah, just I was really shocked that he started the same team as the team he did against Palace, and I don't know, the whole Sharon Fernandez thing. I don't think anyone can understand it. They can't be any worse than what's going on, and I try not to criticize players that as much as I can, really. But for me, Lascelles is a liability at the moment, and every game for the last few games, he seems to, at least at one point in the game, start rugby tackling one of the opponents. He did it in the second half against Chelsea. I can't remember if it was James or another player. I honestly can't remember. Might have even been Kante or someone like that. But they were running through, and he just was slower than them, and so he just sort of put his arms around them to drag them down. Got booked for it. Just absolutely stupid, Just absolutely, I don't know. But we need Dubravka back. We need a change. Like I said, we need a change of formation. We need a change of philosophy. There's still enough in that squad to be okay. I really do believe that, especially with January getting some new players in. But there's also a lot of dead wood. If you buy a new house, you buy new furniture. Would love to keep St. Max and Almiron, etc. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, some of the players will survive, certainly for the first phase of this rebuild. So if we do survive this season, they're not going to ship everybody out in the summer. And yeah, you'd keep Wilson, you'd keep Almiron, hopefully, you'd keep St. Maximin. I think you'd keep those players with the idea that they could offer something with a new manager and better coaching and that kind of thing. So, I don't know. It's a long. It's going to be a long winter. Probably need 9 come January. 9 points, you mean, from the next few games? I don't know. We might need more than that. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I think this is it. And so, who was it here? Yeah, Liam as well, making a similar point. We've got players from the Padre era, never mind the Championship era. Yeah, so we've had players who are kind of, they've outstayed their welcome in a sense. And, it's nice actually in a sense that the fans have got behind the squad and even with Bruce as manager, that the crowd have never really turned on the players, which is great. But in a sense, some of the players have kind of got away with below par performances because the attention of the support has been on the owner and the manager. And sometimes maybe some of the players do need a bit of a kick up the backside. and say, look, if you want to play for Newcastle, you need to pull your finger out a bit more and do a bit better. Paul with a bit of a theory there. Rafa gets pedalled from Everton. Yeah, I mean, again, this is another split decision in the fan base, isn't it? If Rafa goes from Everton, do Newcastle go in for him? We know that the consortium would have liked Rafa to have stayed. Have we missed the boat? Would you like Rafa back? Let me know in the comments. It's very interesting. If we go down, how confident are you on coming straight back up? I would never, ever be that confident of coming straight back up, just because the Championship's such a lottery in a sense. That said, if we did go down, we would be backed heavily to come back up. So you'd like to think we would manage it again, but there's no guarantees. We managed it under Ashley twice, obviously, but there's no guarantees in that league, and that's what scares me about the Championship. Imagine having our owners and then being stuck in the Championship for a couple of years. That would be an absolute disaster. You can see that Sam Maximin, Wilson, Miggy know they have a longer term future and they're putting in effort. Most of the rest aren't. And this is it, Mark. Like, we have got players in that squad for sure who know that they know they're going. Like, and that's kind of concerning, because we need every single player, every single person to be really pulling together. That is where I think a new manager could come in and just unite them and just say, look, yeah, some of you will only be here for 6 months. Some of you will only be here for that. But if you put a job in, if you do the job for us, if you put yourselves on the line, we will get you the best deal we possibly can when you move on from this club. But for now, for the next 6-7 months, we are together. We are united. And we need you to kind of pull your weight and put everything into every match. And, you know, die for the badge, basically. And hopefully most of them would do that. And anyone who isn't going to do that needs to be shipped out in January. I agree that Brighton are beatable, despite how well they're doing. But if we set up again like we did against Palace and Chelsea, I don't think we will beat them. And that's what worries me with Jones being in charge for that game again. We've got to try something different and not be scared of Brighton. Yeah, they're doing well, but they're not Chelsea. They're not Man City. They're a good team and they're well coached and they play good football, but they are beatable. LSO Inferno, nice of you to join us. Bare minimum 10 points from those 10 games. That would be a good return, in my opinion. We'd be on 14 points going into the new year, reinforcements, and then you hit that run and hopefully, you know, pick up a few wins. And hopefully, you've got to remember as well, look, if we buy players in January and we get better, then you can start targeting the likes of, I don't know, games against, I don't know, like, who sort of 8th, 9th, 10th in the league. Those kind of teams who are kind of at that level, you can target them. You might even nick the odd win against a top 6 team. You know, we might beat West Ham or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, the Premier League is a league where most teams can beat another team on any given day. There's not very many results that are certain in the Premier League. And Eski, yeah, an appointment. I totally agree. And I think even if Jones is in charge for the Brighton game, which is what all the rumours and all the discussion seems to be, it might not be right, but we think that's what's going to happen at the moment. I still want the new guy to be watching that match at the Amex, in the stands, ahead. And I want him there. I want the new guy to be there, watching the team at the very, very least. Jan's still going for the Luis Campos director of football line. I love your commitment to that. Fair enough. Lee Charnley is going. We know that Lee Charnley is going, Liam. He's just been kept on at the moment in a kind of transitional mode. Again, it shows you that there's no structure behind the scenes and that they've had to keep Charnley on while they hand over to new people who come in. It's just mad, really. I've said this before as well, but there's going to be so many stories come out about the Ashley rule and how badly run the club is. We haven't heard the half of it yet. I'm absolutely convinced it's going to just be a joke. It's going to be an absolute joke when you consider. We've already seen signs of it, haven't we, with the training ground and the state of the ground and the skeleton staff and like the rubbish TVs and the staff. Everything just being run on a shoestring. It's just pathetic. Yeah, so I'm thinking actually I might do a video soon about the players that I would get rid of in January. Like, completely just get rid of them straight away, because there's quite a few who I would get rid of in January. So let me know who you would get rid of. Like, give me your top 3 people who you would immediately just get rid of in January, regardless of signing anyone else. Just who are the 3 players in the current squad who you'd like to just see the back of? Because I think that would be a really interesting question. Scott, it's baffling how some of our most gifted players are not in the starting 11. And this is what I'm saying. Like, there's better players available who can offer more. And I think with better coaching and a different style, we could be all right. And yeah, Cher is a really good example of that. He's not a bad player. He's an international footballer who plays well for his country consistently. And he did well for us a while ago now. But it was because Bruce didn't rate him or didn't know how to get the best out of him. And I think it's probably more the latter, that Bruce just didn't know what to do with him. Surely it should be up to the new manager if he wants Jones and not be told you have to work with him. Yeah, and maybe Blakey, maybe that is what is going to happen. I don't know if Jones will still be there. It's just a theory that I have, Seattle Geordie. Evening. Nice for you to join me. I don't know if you're obviously in Seattle. I love the Seattle Seahawks. So I don't know if you follow the NFL or follow the Seahawks, but I love the Seahawks. So do I think the Saudi ownership would sour some managers? I don't think so. I think people within the game would. I don't think so. Has anyone ever turned their nose up at the Man City job or the Chelsea job? I don't think so. I think, especially when we start getting better, people will want to go where the successes and the good teams are. Okay, evening, Andy, my brother Andy. Shelvey, Joe Linton, and Kraft. Yeah, that's a good 3 choice, to be fair. I think the Joe Linton one's interesting. I think personally, I'd have other people ahead of Joe Linton to leave there. Shelvey, definitely. I think he knows he's going. Kraft as well is just not up to it. He's not a Premier League footballer at all. Shelvey and Hendricks. I suspect Shelvey might be quite a popular choice in this particular one. I think. Let's have a look. So, evening, DJ Earth, our resident Mackham. Nice of you to join us. Unlucky on Saturday, but you're playing the best in the league. You'll definitely be safe. I know it's easy for you to say that. It doesn't feel like we'll definitely be safe. I think a lot of us are worried at the moment. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if we were unlucky on Saturday. We were playing the best team in the league, and we deserve to be beat. Absolutely, 100%, 100%. Another shout for Hendrick, Kraft, and Gale. Interested. Yeah, me and my dad were chatting about Gale and how stupid it was to give him that new contract at the end of last season. But I guess because Ashley didn't know when the takeover was going, I guess. I don't know. Still a bit daft, really. Thank you so much, Seattle Geordie. Really, really appreciate that. Thank you. We do need a clear out. NFL players will do a better job. Well, like I said, Lascelles seems to be auditioning as a rugby player or an NFL player the way he's been tackling recently. So maybe he's off for a switch to the States to play in the NFL. I don't know. Jan just can't control himself. He can't only name 3. There's just so many he wants to get rid of. Shelby, Joe Linton, Kraft, Gale, Hendrick. The same names coming up repeatedly here. And I think it says a lot, doesn't it? Certainly, Hendrick's not really shown anything. Shelby, absolutely. Joe Linton, let's be honest, he's been a flop overall. I think he's got a role to play for us this season, just short term. Certainly till January, I think he could help us a little bit. But I've said this, I think in the summer, he needs to go, just for the sake of his career and for everyone else. It's kind of gone too far now at Newcastle. Darlow, Clark, Fernandez, Lascelles, Kraft, Shelby, Richie, reluctantly, Hendrick. That's more than 3. That is definitely more than 3, Neil. But I know I get it. This is it though. Look at all that dead wood in the squad. There's so much of it. And some of those would go with the heavy heart. I think Clark as well. I think I don't have any issue with Kieran Clark other than the fact he's not the standard we need. I think he's an honest professional who always does his best for us. I think he does try hard for us, but I just think, I don't know. I don't think he's going to. Fernandez, I would probably keep Fernandez for now, like I say. Lascelles is another interesting one as the captain. we've seen better days from Lascelles. Could he possibly be? Could he help us for the next year and a half under a better manager? Maybe, I don't know. Kraft, I would definitely get rid of Kraft. He's not Premier League standard. Shelby for sure. Richie's an interesting one. I love Richie actually. I actually think he's probably still got a job to do until the end of the season as well. Hendrick, yeah. Gale's doing nothing for us, is he? We need to replace him with better striker options to back up Wilson. Yeah, I mean, we've had chances to sell Gale and we never took them. This is a good question, Martin. What do I think the budget will be in the January transfer window? Very good question. I think that it's going to be bigger than this 50 million that's been mooted, because I think that there's going to be more. I think there'll be more movement than even the new owners would have hoped to have done in January. I can honestly see maybe 6 or 7 players coming in, maybe a couple of them being loans, maybe, but I can really see a bit of a clear out starting in January, because if there's people not performing, let's get better players in. Let's get better people in. Seattle Jordan. I know people are talking about the horrendous December, but the very end of the season is also horrible. We only have November, then January to March. Yeah, and to be honest, if we don't sort ourselves out in that January to March period, then it's going to be too late by then anyway, isn't it? I think, to be honest. So yeah, it's tough. But like I say, if we do improve and we bring players in, some of those matches that you look at this moment in time and think, how on earth can we possibly win a game like that? There's always the odd game that surprises you in football, and that will happen. I'm certain of it. I actually think we need like the problem is we've got 28 games left, have we? 28 or 27 games. We need to win like 9 of them. We need to win 9 of them and draw a few. And can we do that? Can we have a run of games where we win, a few games and draw some and not lose? And that's going to be so tricky. But it'd be nice if we started that run against Brighton. In those next 5 games, if we can somehow, I don't know, from those next 5 games, if we can somehow sort of, no, sorry, that's the wrong slide. Forget the Chelsea game, that's obviously gone. If we can, maybe draw with Brighton, beat Brentford, maybe lose to Arsenal, beat Norwich, beat Burnley. If we can pick up, I'm not saying we're going to pick up 10 points from those 5 games, but imagine if we did. The picture would look immediately brighter. Just out of interest, just to show you as well, these are the bottom 6's next few games. So our next 3 games are Brighton away, Brentford home, Arsenal away. We might, realistically, if we can pick up 4 points from those 3 games, I'd be happy with that. Big ask because we haven't won a game yet. But then look at Norwich. Okay, so Norwich below us. We really need them to stay below us. They do look pretty rubbish, but you never know. Brentford away, Southampton home, Wolves at home. So that not the toughest games for Norwich, but hopefully they are so bad that they stay down there. Burnley, look at Burnley. They've got Chelsea away while we play Brighton. So if we can get something against Brighton, that could be a very big weekend for us next weekend. Palace at home, Spurs at home. So not the easiest games. I think Spurs are going to improve, obviously, with the new manager. Leeds, Watford and Villa, obviously they're the bottom 3, the bottom 3 of the rest, if you like. So making up the bottom 6. So Leeds, they've got Leicester at home, Spurs away, Brighton away. So again, not easy. There's no easy fixtures in the Premier League, really, is there? But Watford, Arsenal away, Man United home, Leicester away. They've got a tough little run, Watford. Can they do anything with that? Hopefully not, because we want to be able to catch at least 3 of. We need 3 of these teams to be worse than us. Villa as well, not looking good for Villa at the moment. Southampton away, Brighton at home, Palace away. Not the most unkind fixtures for Villa. But we'll see where we are at the end of those 3 matches. But, you look at it, you think, well, Leeds are playing Leicester and Burnley are playing Chelsea. And if we can get something at Brighton, then all of a sudden that gap might close. It might not be as bad as we think. But until we've got that first win under our belt, it's going to be sketchy. We can't say with confidence we're going to win a game because we haven't won for so long. Andy reckons just as much money as is needed. And I think that's what they'll do in the end. I think they'll be like, look, this is worse than we thought. We've bought a bit of a dud here, but we need to get as much talent in that squad in January as we possibly can to give us the best chance. We need some new central defenders. We need a defensive midfielder or two. We need better strikers. You know, can we have a better creative midfielder as well? There must be players out there we can attract and push us up that league. Bournemouth fans didn't like Fraser. Yeah, Fraser's an interesting one, isn't he? Because I think he's got a lot of talent, but Bruce wouldn't play him, which is a bizarre decision again in terms of Steve Bruce. So has he had a fair chance? I'd like to see what he could do. I wouldn't mind seeing a bit more of Fraser over the next few games, to be honest, as long as the formation sort of fits. You know, let's be honest, he wasn't playing again on Saturday. He wasn't playing as a winger. He was playing inside, almost like in the centre left, and that's not his position. We need to play people in position. It's not rocket science. Okay, so yes, and this is it. So we haven't been a normal club for the past few years, and recruitment has basically been minimal. There's been no long-term thought going into recruitment like there is at every other club. It's like, how are we going to improve ourselves over the next 2 or 3 years? We're going to buy this player and this player because these areas are weak. At Newcastle, it's like, well, we'll just get enough players in so that we can have a 25-man squad and that's it. That's going to keep us in the Premier League. That's the only goal that we've had. And it's not good enough. It's been like amateur hour. It's absolutely terrible. Agree, Brian. Some loan signings in January are going to be a good thing, I think, because ultimately we need the players to come in just to get us through to the end of the season, and fingers crossed we survive. But then the rebuild can start. You can't properly start a rebuild until you survive, and we're in such a mess. I agree with that as well, Liam. You know, ultimately in the second half of the season, maybe even December, if we can get some sort of momentum going, we need to try and get a result in December. If we can just get one win in those, apart from the Burnley match, if we can get one win from Leicester, Liverpool, Man City, Man United at home, and Everton, if we can win one of those games, it'd be massive for us. Absolutely massive. I think we will get someone in who is unattached to the usual suspects. Might there be a dark horse? So you're talking about the managerial position there, Davey? Is that what you mean? So yeah, there's talk of only 50 million available to spend. No manager in the right mind would join unless they had 100 million. Yeah, again, it comes down to smart recruitment, though, doesn't it? Obviously, you do need money. You need money to spend, and let's be honest, people are going to expect a premium because they know we've got money and they know we're desperate. So whatever we pay for players is going to be inflated anyway. We've just got to accept that that's the case. I think that the new owners will allow whatever it takes to build a team in January. You know, 100 million, 120 million, whatever. It wouldn't surprise me if we spent that kind of level of money in January and got rid of like 5, 6, 7 players. Wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. January, February, March, and April are different players in the team, so different results. No worries. And I think that's what I'm trying to say, Jan. Like, so you look at some of the fixtures later on, and you're like, oh, how are we gonna get a result against like teams in the top 8? Well, you know, we might, because we might be a better team by then. And if we're not a better team by then, we'll deserve to be relegated. But you know, it's up to the new owners to make us a better team, and I think we will. The issue comes down to what can we do before the new year? That's the question. Wolves winning 1-0. Interesting. I was letting the conversation. Who's the leading candidate for the job? It seems that. I mean, there's all sorts of rumours every day. Unai Emery was kind of suddenly went as favourite today. People now talking about Nuno from Tottenham being in the mix. I don't think he is personally. I think that's just people putting 2 and 2 together and making 5. I don't think he'll be in for it. And then you've got the likes of still. I think Martinez is the other favourite, isn't it? So Unai Emery, or Martinez. How do people feel about Martinez? Because he does seem to be the favourite at the moment. So I don't know. It's an interesting thing. Yeah, Charnley is still there, but only temporarily, until they get like they transition with the new staff. This is what I'm saying. The club's a shell. They've got to appoint pretty much everyone that you would want to run a football club. They've got They've got to, like every level of the club needs recruitment. So they're not just recruiting a manager and a director of football. They've got to recruit coaches and physios and, you know, cafe staff or I don't know, whatever. Just all sorts of staff. Like there's just honestly pathetic. It's just ridiculous, really. Top 6 teams have off days. Palace won at City on Saturday. Really good point. Really good point. And this is it. It's easy. It's easy to sort of sit here and just be doom and gloom about everything. But it's a long season. Things change in football seasons. You know, if a new manager comes in and we have a catalyst, you don't know what might happen. You don't know what might happen. We need it to happen, and we hope it happens. But we can't just write the rest of the season off and base it on what we've seen for the first 10 games, because we've got to have a change of approach and a change of manager at some point. So apparently the VAR was offside. Okay, fair enough. Jacob, my shirt is it's my Dropkick Murphys one. Streaming out of Fenway. So during COVID lockdown, they Dropkick Murphys, amazing band, by the way, from Boston in America, and they played a live gig inside Fenway Park in Boston, Red Sox Stadium, oldest baseball stadium in America, and they played a live gig that they streamed onto the internet. So there was no fans in the stadium. In fact, there was only about 30 people in the entire stadium because of COVID restrictions. So there was hardly any crew, and there's like 7 of them in the band. And they played this live gig, and basically it was just a T-shirt from that streaming out of Fenway, 2020. So it was like, it's still online actually. It'll still be on their Facebook page, so go check it out. Awesome band. It's got to be a decent budget. 54 points to play for after the window. Always hurt when you have that money. Right. Okay. So that's interesting. So look at how many points are still available, like after the window. So that's a lot of points even then. So we don't need to panic too much about being 6 points adrift. You know, if we're 6 points adrift on New Year's Day, I'll be a bit more worried than I am now. But if we can keep it to maybe 3 points or even level points with, you know, outside the bottom 3, I think I can kind of cope with that. I think we'll be all right if that happens. We just need to keep in touch. We just need to keep in touch. So Neil wouldn't touch Martinez with the barge pole. He relegated Wigan, sacked at Everton. Yeah, I think I've read as well. But the thing is, he won the FA Cup with Wigan, but he did get relegated. He got Everton pretty far in Europe, I think, and qualified. I don't know if he qualified for the Champions League, but he sort of did all right with them for a bit. But then obviously, I don't know. And they say Martinez is an intelligent man and a good coach. He's learned lots since his time in the Premier League. I wouldn't be upset at this point. I think the other thing is we've just got to remember that, you know, Martinez would be an improvement on what we've had for the last couple of years. And the question is it going to be enough of an improvement? But, you know, he's not a bad coach. At the end of the day, he's managing Belgium, who are the top ranked team in world football. I know they haven't won the Euros or anything like that, but sometimes you need a bit of luck in tournaments. But I don't know. It's I don't know how I feel about Martinez, if I'm honest. I think there's better options out there, if I'm honest. Liam, the average points to SERP is like 37. That's not true, actually. It's lower than that. 35 or 36 usually sees you all right. The last team to get relegated, having got 37 points, was Newcastle. And every other season in the last sort of 7, 8, 9 years has always been less than 37 points. So 35, 36 quite often is enough. There was one season that was like 28 was enough, but that was obviously a bit of an outlier. But yeah, so I think 35 to 36 points is usually enough. So if we can get to 37, we should be all right. So what have we got now? We've got 4, haven't we? So we need like 33 points there, 33 or 34 points, which equates to 11 wins. But of course, you don't have to win 11 games. You could win 9 and draw like 5 or 6, and you're probably going to be all right as well. So we've just got to hope that we're all right. Hope that we can get those points. Yeah, well, the bookies just react to what people do, don't they? The bookies kind of just, if money's going, it's like the other night when John Terry suddenly went from 66 to 1 to like 7 to 1 or something. That was obviously some rumour had circulated and people put money on it. So the bookies panic and then they just lower the odds. So I don't think they really know. And it's like Fonseca as well, isn't it? He's gone from odds on like a week and a half ago to like he's like 8 to 1 now or something. So it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of, it's just the bookies don't know anything, basically. They just react to what people are betting them on. Curveball, Gareth Southgate, good with youngsters, solid defence. Interesting shout. I can't imagine Southgate being a popular choice amongst fans. Let me know if you would agree with Southgate or not. Personally, I think he'd be too risky. I know he's done well with England, and I actually have a lot of time for Southgate. I know a lot of people don't have a lot of time for him, but I think he's all right. He's a little bit too conservative though, and actually, would we be able to play? Would we be able to get that link-up play between defence and attack going under Southgate? That's the question mark I'd have. Yeah, and at club level, he never really did it. He's sort of, is he just suited for international management? I don't know. Yeah, that was a long time ago. That the West Ham relegation with 42 points. That was like you're talking about 20 years ago. That was again a very unusual season, unusually high. Most seasons, 35 or 36 points sees you safe. It's very rare that it's above that. If you go back through all if you go back through every season, when there's 20 teams in the league, then it's rare that it's higher than that. 42 is mad though to get relegated on 42 points. If you do go down, is there a cap on how much you can spend in the Championship? I don't think so, because I think especially if you go down and bounce straight back up, I don't think there will be. It's just normal financial fair play rules come into play, I believe. Emery is now the favourite. No thanks to Southgate, Brian says. Yeah, and he got relegated with Middlesbrough, he certainly did. So we'll see. Yes. And this, I totally agree with this, Mark. So Mark says, finds it funny that we got battered for having enough after 2 years of dross under Steve Bruce. And then Man United lost last week. Ole is under pressure, and Nuno's gone after losing this week. And nothing was said about the Tottenham fans booing at half time and full time, wanting him out, chanting Nuno out. You know, how's that? How's that any worse than what happened to Steve Bruce at Newcastle? It wasn't, and yet we're absolutely slated for it, and it really does annoy me, that I have to say. Yeah, that's true as well. Southgate's not going to leave England, and wouldn't want him as manager. Southgate's not going to leave England before the next World Cup, is he? So I think it's safe to say that Southgate will want to get the World Cup, and then he might leave the England setup after that. Yeah, Fulham, Norwich spend quite a bit as well when they're in the Championship to get back up, don't they? And then, I don't know. Well, yeah, so it is 1-0 now, apparently. 1-0 to Wolves, Everton losing. Pressure on. Yeah, Mitro is scoring like there's no tomorrow. But then he's another one of these strikers who only seems to be able to do it in the Championship. It's all a bit odd. I don't know. He doesn't seem to be able to do it in the Premier League. And yeah, maybe, I don't know. Is it because Steve Bruce is English and he's got mates in the media? I don't know. Maybe it is partly that. Who knows? But we'll see what happens. So I can't believe an hour's passed already, by the way. That's just absolutely crazy. So listen, I'm gonna wrap it up because got all sorts of stuff I need to do, to be honest. But I'm so glad I got to do this live stream. Really appreciate everyone joining in, commenting tonight. I'm going to have some more videos coming out later this week. So thank you all very much. And I'll hopefully do another live stream towards the end of the week before the Brighton game. And we'll do some score predictions and look at the match ahead and all that kind of stuff. So thank you so much. Like I said, I'm going to sign off now and hope you enjoy your evening. We'll see what happens in the footy tonight between Wolves and see if Everton can turn it around or whether Rafa's going to be under pressure as well. So thanks, everybody. And yeah, we'll see you really, really soon. Take care.